Welcome to The Real World. My name is Cameron, joined by Carson.
That's right.
And on this episode of The Real World Podcast, episode 109, we're talking about the best superhero casting. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of The Real World Podcast. We are so happy you're here with us. If you're a movie fan, you're in the right place.
That's right.
Because we're talking all about movies today, specifically comic book movies.
Yep.
Always a hot topic on the internet.
Of course.
And so we're going to be talking about casting. This whole idea of, the perfect marriage of an actor and a character.
Yeah, this has come up a lot recently with the Deadpool and Wolverine fiasco.
And with Doomsday.
And with Doomsday,
Avengers
of course.
Doomsday.
Yes,
Yeah.
with Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom.
That's right.
People say Hugh Jackman is like the pinnacle of
Right.
superhero casting.
Sure.
No one can ever imagine the character played by anyone else. Same
Right.
with Robert Downey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just thought we'd break down our picks for the top 10 best movie casting.
Exactly. And we're going to do this like a draft like we've been doing lately. So I can take some that's on his list. I haven't seen his list. He hasn't seen my list. We're just going to pick our favorites and we'll see how it ends up. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to kick things off with Carson's first pick. His first draft pick. He gets the first one. So who are you going to go with as your top selection?
Now for this list, we're sticking with movies.
Only movies,
Only
yes.
movies
Yes.
with theatrical releases.
Theatrical release.
There's a lot of those direct-to-DVD animated movies that I think could have some great picks, but
Another thing we're doing is we're not counting villains.
That's
Only
right.
superheroes. So it's not comic book movie casting. It's
Right.
superhero casting. We'll do villain lists in the future.
Sure,
Maybe when Venom 3 comes out or something.
so my number one pick is Kevin Conroy as Batman in the movie Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Excellent selection.
So Kevin recently passed.
Yeah.
It's such a sadness, such a loss.
It is.
Because this man is Batman.
Yeah.
He is the greatest actor to have ever taken on this role, and that's an impressive statement because so many great actors have taken on this role. We might see a few more Batman later down the line, but
Okay.
Kevin Conroy, to me, if you look at the totality of his work, it's jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
But even if you just focus on Mask of the Phantasm,
Sure.
his range as a character,
Yeah.
what Bruce Wayne goes through in this movie, the emotional trauma and roller coaster of a ride
Yep.
that is taken through with just his voice,
I know.
it's phenomenal.
It's amazing.
To me, voice actors are always underappreciated.
yeah.
They have to work 10 times as hard as a regular actor by putting their entire performance into the voice.
Yep.
And when it doesn't work, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It comes out, well, when you just cast those celebrities to be in your movie,
Yeah.
it affects it. It affects
point.
it.
You're totally right.
You can only have J-Lo in so many Ice Age movies before, you start to notice something's wrong. So that's my number one pick, Kevin Conroy as Batman in Batman: The Mask of the Phantasm.
Excellent choice. He was on my list a little bit lower down, but excellent selection. I'm going to go with my first pick, which is going to be Christopher Reeve as Superman
Ooh,
in Superman the movie.
strong choice. Choice.
This film is one of my favorite films of all time. It's a
Type race.
fantastic casting because he personifies the character in
Sure.
every way,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
In his behavior of course you're really casting two roles when you're casting Superman.
Of course.
You're casting
I think
well,
that's true.
you could
That's
even
true.
say three.
That's true for many superheroes.
Exactly, because you're casting Clark Kent,
mild-mannered reporter.
the bumbling reporter in
Yep.
the Daily Planet.
Of course.
He plays that perfectly.
He does, yeah.
You're also casting Clark Kent on the farm in Smallville, which we get a little bit. We don't get a lot of.
We don't
out
get
that
a lot of
first film.
We don't get a lot of Christopher Reeve as that version of Superman.
Correct. We get the younger actor.
Sure.
We get more of that in Superman 3 when he returns to Smallville. But then, of course, you're casting Kal-El, Last Son of Krypton,
Right.
Superman, this
Yeah.
hero, this iconic
Mythological
of
figure,
hope.
yeah.
So he does both so well.
He does.
And they're both believable. I think his Superman is very strong and very confident, yet also vulnerable and a person. You
Sure.
know, like the interviews with Lois Lane, the scenes with Margot Kidder are great.
Definitely.
And then his Clark Kent toes that line of being not being too silly, but like almost there, like almost a character who's not a real person.
Sure,
you know,
sure,
where
sure.
he's kind of
It's definitely a heightened reality.
It's a heightened reality.
It's a comic book movie.
but it's still grounded enough
Sure.
to make you care and make you like the character. So
And to me, it's his relationship with Lois that always sells me
100%.
on the performance.
I agree.
So good.
I agree.
Excellent pick. That was going to be my number 3.
Was
but
it really?
I'm going to
Okay.
have to rearrange here.
Yeah.
My number 2 pick
Yeah.
is going to have to be a little out of left field. This is an outside-the-box choice, but I'm going to risk it
Okay.
because I have a feeling you'll have it somewhere else on your list, and I want to take it.
Okay.
It's Bruce Willis in the movie Unbreakable as the character David Dunn.
Yeah, that was my second pick.
That was your second
Yeah.
pick? Oh, okay. I'm glad I picked it. We love Unbreakable. We've
Yeah,
just
one
both
of our
recently
favorites.
rewatched
We
it
did,
just
we did.
because we love it.
Yeah, well, and Traps Out.
Sure. Another M. Night movie.
Right.
This is a terrific movie. And
So
Bruce
good.
Willis is such a great actor,
Yeah.
especially here.
This is, I think, his best performance he's ever
It's
given.
definitely his most nuanced performance
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, very subtle.
It's not a
Understated.
John McClane,
No.
Sarcastic,
No.
actiony.
No one-liners here.
None of that. This is a man who's struggling with his marriage, who's trying to develop a relationship with his son,
Yeah.
and who's really living a guilty life because he kind of threw away everything that he wanted for this family that's now falling apart. So it's like there's all of these regrets that he has in his
Right.
life, and he's been given this new opportunity to start over.
Yeah,
So it's a very emotional performance.
definitely.
It's very like we said, it's very nuanced.
Yeah, it's very real. It's so grounded. This
Yeah.
film, it's by far the most grounded comic book film ever
It's a
made.
very different kind of comic book movie.
Yeah, it's an origin story. It's a villain origin story. Sam Jackson's great in there as well.
Sure.
He might be in my best villains list whenever we do that. But yeah, it's a fantastic performance. Like I said, I had it at number 2 because
Yeah.
it's one that just so stands out in my mind
Definitely.
as being iconic.
Yeah. Yeah.
and one of those.
And
that
I
just-
can't really imagine anyone else but Bruce Willis in that role.
Exactly.
Because
yeah.
he just has the weight.
Yep.
Yeah. Very good.
100%.
Very excellent. That's my number 2 pick. What's your
Great
number
pick.
2?
My number 2 is Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Iron Man.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
He's, look, when you think of
Look, Stan Lee himself
casting, yeah.
mistook
I know.
the name Tony Stark for RDJ on set.
Right.
Okay?
I know, that's the thing.
That in and of itself is enough.
It's one of those things that's transcended the films to where his real life persona is so tied in now with Tony Stark.
Absolutely.
He played him in 9 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And
And to me, what's interesting about this is it's hard for me to see him as other characters in other movies.
I know.
Dr. Dolittle is very weird.
Right.
Because you just see Tony Stark.
100%.
And I think that Sherlock Holmes gets a little bit of a pass.
Yeah, he's got the accent.
Because he's doing
and
he's
the
doing a
period
totally different
piece,
thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of his other movies, I just
Yeah.
see the Tony Stark, coming through.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal actor, and he is playing a character, but it is one of those characters that is so like him. I mean, even the backstory of what he went through in his own personal life and that whole thing. So it was very wise. It was very risky.
Sure.
He hadn't really acted a ton
Yeah.
at this time, and they just nailed it. I mean, it's
Totally,
just you totally see the character.
It's enough to carry the MCU
Carries
all
the
throughout
MCU.
the first Infinity Saga.
100%. And it's one of those where you read the comic and then you watch the movie and it's seamless.
Yeah.
It's one of those that's just he totally gets it. And he
Yeah.
brings his own thing to it. That's the thing about this casting thing is casting's so important in a movie because obviously it's the character you're watching. You're traveling with them on this journey.
Yeah.
And you want the actor to be able to personify the character in so many different ways.
For sure.
And be able to give the audience this experience of this character, especially when something like the MCU where you're doing 9 movies with them.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's a great performance. One of my favorites. He's got everything you could want to. I believe he's a genius. I believe he's a playboy, philanthropist, billionaire. I believe all of it.
Totally.
It's a very well-rounded character. It's a
I
great
totally agree. It's an
performance,
excellent
so
casting.
That had to be number
That's
2.
definitely an all-time. I'm glad one of us picked it.
Yes.
My number 3
Yeah.
is Robert Pattinson as the Batman.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
2 Batman already.
2 Batman already. Okay? You can tell I'm a big Batman fan. This performance shocked me. I think it shocked everyone. Because coming off the heels of Twilight, no one took this guy seriously. And then he did a little movie called Good Time. And that really changed the rhythm.
I had a great time with Good Time.
Good Time is a great movie. He plays a very sleazy, miserable character in that movie. But, yeah, his performance as Batman in The Batman is just terrific. He manages to bring so much newness to the character.
Yeah, it feels very fresh.
So much stuff that we haven't seen because he's young.
Yep.
And he's tortured. He's
Yeah.
kind of torturing himself
Yeah.
to be Batman.
Right.
It's really interesting. There's a lot of detective stuff that he brings to it that's really cool.
Yeah.
There's the monologue narration. It's very film
Love
noir.
The voiceover.
I love the voiceover.
I love his relationship with Alfred. Andy
Absolutely.
Serkis in that is also great, and they
Yeah.
have a great dynamic.
And his relationship with Jim Gordon to me is also
Jim Gordon,
pivotal.
Catwoman. I mean, all of the personal relationships he has or develops in that film are really intriguing and interesting and different from what we've seen before.
And to me, it's only because of Robert Pattinson's performance that version of the character really works.
I agree.
I mean, he brings so much of something that I don't think anyone else could have brought to that role.
Yeah.
And it's very impressive.
It's another one that's kind of understated. It's not a big performance. Like Tony Stark's kind of a big character, big personality, you know? Batman's not. Bruce Wayne is not that, you know? He's much more subdued, and what's interesting about that film is he hasn't developed that dual identity with Bruce Wayne yet.
Exactly.
He's playing up this playboy persona.
Right.
He's just kind of a very inward character, reclusive. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to develop that in the second film.
Yeah, I'm stoked. That's my number 3 pick. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is going to be Ron Perlman
Oh,
as Hellboy.
this is a great pick.
Ron Perlman as Hellboy. You know, this is one where they've tried to recast twice now. With David Harbour, who I really like, and with this new guy, I don't know his name. And they both just fell flat on their faces. It's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, when you compare anyone to Dave Harbour like that, it's pretty amazing.
You can't. It's almost like a role you can't recast because the first casting is so perfect.
Yeah. That first movie is so good.
It is so good. Both of them. I think both of Guillermo
the
del
second
Toro's
one's very
Hellboy
good,
movies
too.
are fantastic.
Yeah.
Great, and it's one of those characters that's difficult because, of course, the way he looks, you think, oh, this is he looks like a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's like a demon, right?
Big red, intimidating
Big red,
guy with a giant fist, and
And the horns and the whole thing.
yeah.
And he's so not what you expect.
Sure.
When you meet Hellboy,
He likes cats.
he eats candy. He
eats
watches
candy.
TV shows.
Yeah.
He watches sitcoms.
Right,
you know,
right.
He's a very kind of silly character almost.
He has a heart.
But he
has an unexpected heart.
A lot of heart to
Yeah.
him, and so the way they portray him in the film is so great. And under all those prosthetics and all
Yeah.
that makeup,
Yeah.
to be able to deliver a performance that the audience can connect with
Big time.
is always impressive to me when they can do that.
I totally agree. I think
So-
that's an excellent pick. It's one I didn't even think of just because, again, it's one of those things where you think of that character, you just assume.
You don't think of the actor.
I don't.
Which
Exactly.
is the best casting.
Exactly.
Right? That's the best casting.
Yeah.
You don't want to think of the actor.
Right.
You want to only think of the character.
Totally.
So he had to be in there. So he made my number 3. What do you
That's-
have at 4?
Excellent. Terrific pick. My number 4. I'm going to go with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Okay?
Now I didn't go with her because I kind of think she's a villain.
She is a little villainous.
She's an anti-hero. I
She-
guess, in
she-
some
I
ways.
think she kind of-
especially in her movies.
Yeah. And
She has
the
more
Suicide Squad,
nuance to her.
they're kind of an anti-hero hero team.
Right.
So it's difficult to balance that.
Now, are you going with?
I'm going with The Suicide
The
Squad.
Suicide Squad.
James
James
Gunn's
Gunn's-
The Suicide Squad. Because I think that's where she's the most heroic. Because she actually
That's true.
becomes selfless kind of
Yes.
toward the
She
end.
kind of has an arc.
Yeah. But she embodies Harley Quinn in so many
100%.
ways. Especially, she kind of reinvented the character for modern
Kind of,
comics.
yeah.
After she was cast and we saw her in the first
Right,
Suicide Squad
right,
movie,
Yeah.
nothing's been the same
That's true.
since she's played the
The
character.
character even looks more like her.
Yeah,
in that
literally.
movie now in the comics.
I mean,
Yeah.
the way that they draw her is different now. Her mannerisms are different. it's very impressive to have a character go from Joker's girlfriend in Batman the Animated Series,
Right. Yeah.
to now totally her own character with her own show and her own movies now.
It's amazing.
It's pretty amazing,
It
and
is.
especially in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
Yep.
She just has so much to do there.
Mm-hmm.
Such a big personality,
Yes.
and definitely an all-time casting for me.
I totally agree, and she's an Australian actress, and she puts the accent on perfectly.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, her mannerisms, little things she's doing, the action sequences she's great in, you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and I mean everything she does as the character. When I think of the character now, I think of her.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I totally agree.
So, great.
That is
pick.
my number 4. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is going to be Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
this is a good one.
Wonder Woman.
In Wonder Woman.
In Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman movie, I think, is her best performance she's given yet as the character. I love her performance in Batman v Superman and in Zack Snyder's Justice League as well.
Okay.
Even in Wonder Woman 1984. I don't mind her in that as well. But the first Wonder Woman film, bringing that character to life, telling this origin story,
Yeah.
and getting to see her on Themyscira,
Mm-hmm.
really interesting how they set all that up. Then her meeting Steve Trevor,
Yeah.
and coming to London,
Sure.
like this culture shock,
Yeah.
fish
Yeah.
out of water.
Right.
And
And that's another casting that definitely changed the character from that point on.
100%.
I mean, now Wonder Woman has that accent. That's
the
kind of like a whole
accent.
Amazonian thing
Yep.
now, is that they kind of all
Yep.
talk like that.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
yeah, really
They were
interesting.
smart to do that.
For
Know,
sure.
they all the other actors looked to her, and how is she talking and how is she behaving?
Yeah.
They kind of built their whole
That movie's
world
kind of built
her.
around that casting. So
Definitely.
that's a great pick.
It is. I think Zack Snyder was really smart in casting her. Patty Jenkins did a great job directing her. Getting to play, obviously, this strong warrior woman, but also, when she comes to our world, the world
Yeah.
of men, she's naive yet not stupid.
Sure.
They didn't make her dumb.
Yeah.
She's still very intelligent, still very strong, but just doesn't get our customs and things like that. You know,
Right.
so there's some comedy with that she also plays very well, off of Chris Pine, who's
Yeah.
also very well cast as Steve
course.
Trevor. So yeah, huge fan of her. What she did with the role, the physicality of that role, the gracefulness with which she carries herself.
Yeah.
All of it is just she nails it completely.
I
So-
totally agree. Excellent choice. That was actually going to be my next pick.
Was it really? Okay.
So I'm going to go my number 5 choice.
Yes.
Craig T. Nelson as Mr. Incredible in The Incredibles.
Great pick.
This is another voice actor role. Craig T. Nelson does a lot of voice acting, but he's probably not best known for that.
No, not at all.
But he just knocks it out of the park here.
Really
I mean,
does.
it's a Brad Bird movie, so it's just going to be phenomenal.
Right.
But yeah, Craig T. Nelson brings so much humanity to this animated character.
Right.
This larger than life superhero
Yes.
who's really like a retired ex-hero
Yeah.
working a job he hates,
Yeah, right.
trying to keep this family together, trying to relive the glory days.
Exactly.
And yeah, that story is just so strong, and that
is.
performance really humanizes a superhero in a way that I think very few superhero movies are able to do.
It's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true. Very relatable performance, because he's one of these guys trying to balance the family life and the work life, and trying to kind of also be a hero on the side, and all that intrigue with him, and again the relationships with Elastigirl and with his kids, and with Frozone, and with Buddy, and Syndrome, and him playing the young
Yeah.
Mr. Incredible. Totally different performance from
Totally
the older
different.
Mr. Incredible.
Yep.
It's a really incredible
Yeah.
thing they did. We're
amazing.
going to keep using incredible as a
It's the
word
choice
to
adjective for The
describe
Incredibles.
this. An incredible performance.
So what is your number 5?
My number 5 is going to be Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. The Incredible
Okay.
Hulk. I am a huge fan of this movie. This is
It's terrific.
easily one of the most. It's the most underrated
MCU movie?
film. It's in my top 5 MCU movies of all time. His performance is fantastic, and nothing against all the other actors. Eric Bana is good.
Yep.
I like what Mark Ruffalo did, but this is so unique. It's so, again, one of those performances like Robert Pattinson. It's kind of inward.
Yeah.
A lot of it's an inward struggle that he's going through. It's all in the physicality of the performance.
Absolutely,
And-
that's what I was
and
gonna
it's
say.
all internal, this internal thing that's going on.
Yes, his physicality really,
Yeah.
really brings the Bruce Banner character from the comics into real life.
Yes.
It is a perfect one-to-one,
Yep.
taking that character and making him real.
He's a slender guy.
Yep.
So just the physical look of him.
Yeah.
Norton's always come off as very intelligent in any
Mhm.
role he's done to me. He always seems just like he's the smartest guy in the room.
Sure.
And so he's got that going for
But
him.
he's on
so
the run, and
scientist-
he's, you know,
Love
afraid.
that.
He's
Love
constantly
that.
afraid.
Yes. He's learning to control his anger. Like,
Yeah.
all these little things they're doing with the character that we hadn't seen before in live action film.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, we hadn't seen in any of the animated series either or anything like that. But
And if you watch those
Really
deleted
good.
scenes, he gets low. You know, we get the
Very low.
the
Yeah.
bullet in your mouth. Other guy
Right.
spit it out.
Yes.
It is actually a scene that
Yeah.
they shot.
exactly.
So yeah, he brings a lot of nuance to that character.
He
That's
does.
definitely a good casting.
And again, I keep mentioning the relationships because I think that's important.
Mhm.
You know, with Betty and
Yeah.
with General Ross and with
For sure.
Dr. Stearns.
Of course.
All of those, interactions that he just really is great. He's very humble.
Mhm.
Very unassuming, mild mannered,
But paranoid.
but paranoid.
Yeah.
That has this kind of edge to him. You
Mhm,
know, and
mhm.
this anger he's trying to keep under control all the time.
Totally, yeah.
And he also did the mocap.
Sure.
Which I think we
Yeah.
should mention because
Absolutely.
that's another element of that performance that's really interesting. And of course, the digital artists have a huge hand in that as well.
Of course.
But he was there on set, doing the movements of
Mm-hmm.
the Hulk, and I think there is a continuity if you pay attention. There is a continuity between what he's doing as Banner and what he's
Definitely.
doing as Hulk. So,
Definitely.
huge fan of that performance.
That's an excellent
that had to
pick.
be in there. So that made my top 5. What do you have at number 6?
So barely making it out of the top 5. It kind of hurts me to keep this one out of the top 5, but Craig T. Nelson to me I just had to have in there. My number 6 pick is Andrew Garfield in The Amazing Spider-Man.
Wow, I had him on my list, but he's a little bit lower down. So
I think
good
I think he's the best live-action Spider-Man we've ever had.
He's great.
I really do.
Yeah.
As much as I love Tobey and I love the new, fresh, youthful energy that Tom Holland has brought,
Sure.
to me, Andrew Garfield embodies that punk rock nature that has to be in Spider-Man.
Right.
If you don't have that punk kind of... if
Well-
I had the power, I would beat up all the bullies.
Yes,
It's
that's-
kind of the
right.
attitude Peter Parker
He's
has.
an angry kid.
Yeah.
He's sad. He's lonely.
He's got a temper.
I love that.
He's
I
a
love
loner.
that
He's an
element.
outsider.
Yes.
He's an outcast. He's
Totally.
a skateboarder. He,
It modernizes. What Toby did with Sam Raimi was the classic Spider-Man thing.
Absolutely.
He's the nerd.
yeah.
This modernized it. Drew more from the Ultimate Comics.
Sure.
And yeah, he has an edge to him.
Mhm.
He's still nerdy. Wears glasses, outcast. Type,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's still, and it's a different take.
Definitely.
Which some people don't like. I like it a lot, like you.
Yeah, I
it's
think,
really
I mean,
interesting.
if Spider-Verse taught us anything, it's that being a punk is a core aspect of Spider-Man.
Sure.
And Andrew Garfield totally personifies that.
Yep.
He has a great emotional performance. His relationship, of course, with Gwen Stacy is incredible.
Yeah.
I think it's the best on-screen chemistry any Spider-Man actor's ever had.
100%.
His relationship with Dr. Connors in this movie is great.
Yep.
Uncle Ben, he gets some great scenes with Uncle Ben and Aunt May, of course.
Definitely.
But yeah, overall, Andrew Garfield in The Amazing Spider-Man, just terrific performance to me.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
The first one and the second one, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, he has some amazing moments in Amazing Spider-Man too.
I caught that. I see what you did there. All right. We're going with... there have been so many Batman.
There have been a lot of Batman.
It shouldn't be any surprise that we each have at least one Batman on our list. And I'm going with Ben Affleck because he's my favorite.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, it was... this happens all the time when people are cast and the internet just goes nuts.
Of course.
This is the worst idea ever. Worst casting. Got to change the casting.
And I think a big reason why people behave that way was because of his role as Daredevil.
Oh, sure. Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people had a bad taste in their mouth with that theatrical cut of Daredevil. Check out the director's cut.
Cut's much better.
But yeah, that and, so many other reasons people didn't want him as this character. But he really pushed himself for this role.
Big time.
I mean, this role, honestly, I think he's done some great movies. He's a really good actor. I think this is my favorite role he's ever played.
It's high praise.
I think it's fantastic. He gets so into the psyche of Batman.
Yeah.
I feel like even more than the Nolan trilogy.
For sure.
You know, it's rivaling Mask of the Phantasm and The Batman
Wow.
as being
It's high praise.
just a movie that helps us understand who Batman is.
For sure.
From the opening scene, obviously, the origin story.
Yeah.
And
And deconstructing that character, he's at a low point.
he's
his relationship with
he's
Superman.
so different
Yeah.
from most iterations of the character. Some people still hate it
Of course. I understand.
because it is very different from what we're used to with Batman.
Yeah.
He's brutal. He's vengeful.
Yeah.
He's angry. He's scared. Really.
Totally,
I mean,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the element here that's most
Absolutely.
important is his fear of
Yeah.
Superman. Fear of who am I in this world now?
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's completely changed and there's aliens that can
Yeah.
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 shoot fire from their
Definitely.
eyes.
Yeah, we're both
It's
big fans of BVS. I think Ben
very
Affleck's Batman is really good.
He's
so it's a good
tortured.
pick.
He's tortured. It's an intense performance. And
sure.
I get all of the nuances from it that I could possibly want from an older, world-weary Batman.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
I had to make the list.
Great, good pick. My number 7
Yep.
is another animated voice actor. This is Nolan North as Raphael in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles CG movie.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Nolan
I love
North.
it.
Nolan North to me is one of the greatest voice actors working today. He's terrific. We
He
love
is.
him in all kinds of things. He's Deadpool and Wolverine and the X-Men.
We just did the commentary.
for
Check it out.
It's very good. But to me, when I hear his voice, I hear Raphael
Yeah.
because he so embodies that Brooklyn middle child angst.
Sure.
He's such a good he's such a fun character to watch. He's just that cool bad boy outsider
Yes,
of the
yes,
family.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just terrific watching him as the Night Watcher in this movie is very cool.
Yep.
He's got so much personality. Again, that voice acting performance is just incredible.
I agree.
That you can have all of that personality come through in just a voice.
Yep.
It's really impressive. And his relationship with Leonardo is really the heart of this performance.
I agree.
Their fight on the rooftop is one of the
James
greatest.
Arnold Taylor.
James Arnold Taylor.
He's on my list.
He's
I don't
another
think he's
great
going to
one.
make it in the top 10, but he's fantastic.
He's
as
terrific
Leonardo.
for sure. But yeah, Nolan North. This is my favorite version of Raphael.
Oh, yeah.
To me, this
My favorite version of all the shows.
every time I hear,
So good.
every time I read a comic with Raph in it, it's Nolan's voice I hear. So
100%.
yeah, definitely, that's my number 7 pick.
Excellent selection. For my number 7, I'm going to venture over into the X-Men world
Okay,
and take James McAvoy as Charles Xavier.
interesting pick.
I think rewatch just
Now,
like
now
rewatch
is there
all
a reason
these.
you chose James McAvoy over the other
Jackman or-
Professor X role?
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick
Yes,
Stewart,
there is.
yes.
It's mostly to do with what he's given. So I feel like Patrick Stewart's fantastic as Professor X. He's kind of like the quintessential Professor X that we think of.
Sure.
But McAvoy added so much depth to this character. Getting his backstory. So if we have to pick one movie, I'm going with First Class.
Okay.
Even though I think Days of Future Past, there's a lot there
Sure.
that develops his character.
Yeah.
I prefer First Class still because of it giving us young Professor X and then getting to see him in college where he's so different
Yeah.
from what you would expect Professor X to be.
Totally.
And that movie, we get a great arc with him as well, playing off of Michael Fassbender's Magneto.
Yeah.
Playing off of Jennifer Lawrence's Raven, which I think is a great,
Big time.
unique kind of relationship
Yeah.
that they have.
Yeah.
And him really becoming the leader he needs to be
Right.
in
right.
that movie. And
It's
you know,
cool
the
to
way
see
he's
him
building it.
over the course of those movies all the way up
Yes.
into Dark Phoenix,
Absolutely.
becoming
Yes.
that quintessential Professor
Yeah,
X. So.
he does. He does
Yeah.
a great job with it. It's a very good performance. Very emotional.
Mhm.
There are a lot of great emotional moments. It's Professor X bringing this team together, and we don't really get to see him do that in really any of the other ones.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it is we're really seeing him form the X-Men, and he has to. The way he has to deal with each character is different. Like the
Yeah.
way he deals with Havoc is different than how he deals with Raven, or the way he deals with Hank is different from how he deals with Banshee. You know, it's like all these
Yeah.
different dynamics that I think are really
Definitely.
interesting and compelling, and a really good performance. So I
Very
had to go
cool.
with McAvoy for my number 7.
Awesome.
What do you have at 8?
Very good. Number 8. It's going to be tough to pick a number 8 here. We've got 3
These
left.
are all tough.
Yeah, these have all been
You have
difficult
3.
picks.
You have 3. Yeah, 3 picks left.
For my number 8, I'm going to go with Wesley Snipes as Blade
What?
in Blade.
Wow, I did not see this coming.
Okay.
Okay.
This is another Guillermo del Toro movie. You had
Oh,
yours,
Blade
I have
2.
mine.
Blade 2. Okay.
Blade 2.
Yep.
This guy is Blade. Wesley Snipes. There's only been one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade.
Right.
He's terrific. He
Yeah.
brings so much charisma and
Oh, yeah.
likability and
Yeah.
just over the top comic book energy
Mhm.
that really carries this movie all the way through.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a really, and he's a martial artist.
Yeah.
So he's doing a lot of his own fight choreography,
For sure.
and it's really stellar.
Yeah.
When you watch,
He brings
this
a lot of
unfold.
physicality.
It's like
And so many. He nails those like dynamic poses
yeah,
that you're supposed
you
to
can
be
tell
in.
he's a fan of the comic.
For sure.
You can tell he wants to do justice to the source material.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent pick. I did not expect you to pick that. Honestly, that's a really good pick, though. I mean,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
can't. I mean, I've got the Blade trilogy on Blu-ray.
Mhm,
I watch Blade 2 a lot.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, and he's great in it. He's a great lead. Okay, so my number 8 pick
Okay.
is going to be Michael Chiklis as Ben Grimm / The Thing
This is a good pick.
in Fantastic Four.
I'm glad you picked this one because when you were talking about the makeup performance from Hellboy, I mean this is that to the extreme.
Big time. This is, it's incredible. First of all, but that they were able to create this suit
Yeah. Yeah.
that looks like rock,
Practical effects.
but it's some kind of rubber thing. I don't
Yes,
know. I don't
yeah.
even know what it's really made of, but it looks great on camera.
for sure.
And he is able to emote
Mhm.
through this makeup somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, I just rewatched this movie. I gave it 4 stars. A lot of people call me crazy for doing that.
I'm right there with you.
I think it's tons of fun.
Yeah.
And he stands out among the cast. I think they're all well cast, but he stands out so much
Yeah.
as just being perfect casting.
Mhm.
Another guy who's a huge fan of the source material.
Yep.
Read the Fantastic Four comics growing up.
Yeah.
Loved The Thing. It was his
Mhm.
favorite character. Got to play him in live action, which is just crazy.
It's amazing.
That can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he nails it.
It's fantastic.
He nails it. It really is fantastic. He nails it. He nails, again, the nuance of the performance. You've got the whole relationship with him and his fiancée,
Yeah.
which is very emotional. His relationship with each member of the team is different. You know, Johnny's kind of his little brother. Reed is like his best friend. And it really is a great performance. The whole time he's trying to get out of this.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the movie, he embraces it. And he's like, this is
Clobber
who
time.
I am, and it's Clobber and
That's
Dime.
right.
And he delivers that line so well.
He does.
What a difficult line to deliver.
Very difficult. I
He
kind of
nails
like the
it.
way that they handled it in Fant Four Stick. The first,
Sure.
The first like 10 to 15
Yeah,
minutes of that
right,
movie.
Right.
His big brother is like,
Mhm.
it's clobbering time,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
beats
yeah.
him up.
Right.
Anyways,
It's a great performance.
Yeah, that's a
Michael
terrific
Chiklis as the
pick.
Thing in Fantastic Four, all-time great
Yeah.
comic book cast.
for sure, that's an excellent
He
pick.
nails it. The if you read the comics,
Mm-hmm.
he is Ben Grimm.
Yeah,
And you don't see anyone else but Ben Grimm when you watch that movie.
very good, very
great.
good pick.
All right, what do you have at 9?
Number 9. These are getting tough. I've got a lot
Only
here
got 2 left.
that I really like.
I do too. I've got several I'm working through right now as we're talking.
For number 9, I'm gonna have to go with Zachary Levi as Shazam.
Really? Okay. All right.
Zachary
I like this
Levi as
performance.
Shazam. He sold me. He sold me on the movie. It's basically that performance to me that makes that movie so enjoyable. Because the
Okay.
plot is very straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff that we've seen before.
Mhm.
But Zachary Levi's charisma and likability,
Right.
and he managed to just capture that energy of a kid
Yeah. Oh yeah.
in a way that
Definitely.
just totally works.
I agree.
He has some great emotional moments where he and he has a terrific arc in this movie.
He does.
He goes from being, lonely little kid
Mm-hmm.
who's, in this foster home
Right.
to this popular superhero who's all in it for himself, kind of like
Totally.
Booster Gold, you know?
Yeah.
And then eventually, you know, becomes the hero because of
Yeah.
Freddy and, you know, his family. And it's that family heart that really carries that movie.
I
But
agree.
Zachary Levi, again, this is a tough role to play.
Oh,
And the
big
character
time.
of Shazam,
Very tough.
the only adaptation I think I like more than this one is in Young Justice, where he's
yeah.
terrific in Young Justice.
Jerry O'Connell.
But yeah, Zachary Levi, he captures that childlike fun that you would have
He does.
as a superhero.
100%. The only issue I have with that performance is I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect between him and what Asher Angel is doing as Billy Batson.
Okay,
He's a little bit more of a streetwise tough kid,
sure.
whereas when he becomes Shazam, he's a little more silly kid.
I think that
But I think it
I
kinda
I
works.
understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it works because
if
when
you
he's
were to
Shazam,
get that power.
suddenly he's
You
not
would be
afraid.
different, right.
He has no fear
Yeah,
of anything
sure.
because he thinks he's invincible.
Right.
Everything is fun now.
Yeah.
So I think it works in that way.
Okay.
I think
I
that's
get it.
kind of what they were going for.
I
was
got
to
it.
have because you want to have that dichotomy
Sure.
between Billy Batson and Shazam.
Yeah, yeah. You want it to
Because
be a
they are
little
different.
Right. Mhm.
And when he is Billy Batson, he is vulnerable and he's kind of
Right.
fed up
Yeah.
because he knows he can be Shazam.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So it's kind of a tortured performance
Sure.
that the kid has to do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I understand the big differences between the two of them,
Uh-huh,
but I
uh-huh.
think that the story makes it work.
Okay. I got you. All right. Moving on to my number 9.
We're getting down to the wire.
I've got 5 here on my list.
Yeah.
But it could be any one of these.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I keep looking at that I can't leave off the list, Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, the Black Panther.
Okay.
I think his performance in that role
Mm-hmm.
is so great.
Yeah.
And it's so, he carries himself as a king. He's very regal.
Definitely.
Yet he has this vulnerability and humility to him
Mm-hmm.
that is really compelling.
Yeah.
And I think that...
Now, is there a specific movie? Is it Black Panther?
Yeah, it would be the first Black Panther film.
Okay.
It would be that film. That's where we really get to explore him. I think he's great in Civil War.
Sure.
It's a great introduction.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a really... He has an arc in that movie.
Mhm.
I mean, really. I mean, it's a really compelling
Yeah,
performance.
for
there.
sure.
But the Black Panther movie, we get to see so much more of him, and we get to develop him further. We get to see how he is as a king, how he is as a son, as a brother, as a friend.
Yeah.
All these different elements of him that we didn't get to explore in Civil War that are explored very well in the Black Panther movie. I still think that first Black Panther movie is one of the best MCU movies.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it. What Ryan Coogler was able to accomplish there is really incredible. It's a very well balanced film. It's a performance that's again central to that movie, and
Yeah.
he's learning a lot in that movie.
For sure.
Learning a lot about his past, his
Yeah.
father's past,
Yeah.
the past
Learning
of
from
Wakanda.
the villain.
Learning from the villain.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan, great in that movie too.
Absolutely.
It's a pair of great performances. And I feel like some people kind of talk more about Michael B. Jordan because he is so great in that
Yeah.
movie. But without a great protagonist, your antagonist is not going to be as compelling.
Sure.
I think the antagonist just supports the greatness of the protagonist in that film. And it's great. It's another role that is very physical. And
Yeah.
now knowing what he was going through, battling cancer,
Right.
throughout all those films,
Yeah.
is makes it that much more amazing.
It is.
And the fact that we lost him, way too soon, makes it, much more sad. But
sure.
it's a performance that I will always remember
Yeah.
as being, that's a character, that's not the actor.
Mm-hmm.
If you've heard Chadwick Boseman speak,
Yeah.
he doesn't
For sure.
sound anything like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unique and so different. It was perfect casting.
Yeah.
It was really perfect.
I agree.
casting.
That's definitely an excellent pick.
He made my number 9.
Very good
you
pick.
have
Very
your
good pick.
last pick. This is it. Your number 10. Best
I
superhero casting.
gotta throw out a few honorable mentions.
Go ahead. Okay.
Before I give my last
Well,
pick.
I might have some on my list. Go ahead.
Honorable mentions I gotta give to Liam Neeson as Darkman. I love that performance.
Yes, that is a great.
I was so close to having that one on the list. I love that performance.
Yeah.
Carl Urban as Dredd in the movie Dredd.
Of course.
I love that
really
one too.
Good. Never takes the helmet off.
So good, so good. Kurt Russell in Sky High as well. It's just a fun one that I
That is a
love.
fun one,
I
yeah.
love him as the commander.
For sure.
But it's my number 10.
Yeah. Final
looking at this
superhero
list.
casting.
It's you're not gonna. I don't know if you're gonna like this pick.
Okay.
Because you're probably gonna.
I've been surprised by it
You might
several
not
years.
consider that this one even counts.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say it, and we'll see if you let me have it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna say David Cornsweet as Superman.
No, you can't choose.
You
this.
can't. I can't.
You can't choose this. No. We haven't seen it. We've seen set photos.
But the casting itself.
Okay, you know what? I'll give it to you.
The
I'll give it to
casting
you.
itself,
I'll give it to you.
I think, is brilliant because I've seen him in other stuff.
Okay.
We just saw him in Twisters.
Yep.
He's excellent in that.
Yep.
He's in a couple shows that I've seen.
Sure.
But he's going to be great as Superman.
I hope so.
I can't wait. Just his role in Twisters,
Yeah.
that is so like the opposite
Yeah.
of Clark Kent.
Right.
And I think he knows that, and he wanted that before he did Superman.
Right.
That I'm just so stoked. He looks the part.
Definitely.
He, I mean, I trust James Gunn. If he's willing to give this guy Superman,
Sure.
I mean, it's a big deal.
Sure.
We've had a lot of Superman before, and this one I feel like is going to really deliver something different. Hearing him talk about Superman is really encouraging. He loves the character. The comics that he's been reading and posting about are all very encouraging.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this performance, and I think it's terrific casting.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I hope so. I'm very hopeful. This I feel like is most hopeful superhero casting.
Sure.
But I'll give it to you. I'll let you keep it. Why not? It's an outside the box pick. I like picks like that. So that's fun.
Hey, just you wait. After we see the movie, this will be my new number 1. Possibly.
It might be. Hey, who knows?
Possibly.
It could be.
We'll see. Maybe it's terrible.
Maybe it's terrible. We never know. All right, my final pick is another. I feel like going to be a bit of an outside the box pick that maybe people are not expecting. But I'm going to go with
It's Joseph Krasinski.
John Krasinski as
John
Mr.
Krasinski as
Fantastic
Mr. Fantastic in Multiverse of Madness.
No,
Amazing pick.
amazing choice. No, it's not him. It's actually Michael Douglas as Hank Pym.
Oh.
In Ant-Man.
Okay.
Not Paul Rudd, Scott Lang.
Not part of Scott Lang. Michael Douglas is Hank
Douglas
Pym.
is Hank Pym.
Okay.
/ Ant-Man. Because he is Ant-Man.
He is.
He is playing Ant-Man in that movie. He's so perfect as Hank Pym. You know, it's this is top 10. This is in my opinion, these are the top 10. The casting does not get better than this. I would have loved to have seen him play young Hank Pym.
Yeah.
More. We see like little glimpses. But Hank Pym he's a messed up character. I mean, he is a really,
tortured, paranoid.
You could go as far as saying villain in some aspects of his personality.
I feel like he should have been the villain.
He kind of.
And if you're just do Yellow Jacket.
Right.
They do it in the comics. He becomes the villain.
I know.
That's why I think it's appropriate that's his character.
Right. Yeah, it's great. It's such a good performance. It's
amazing to have an actor like that in a role like this.
Yes.
In the first Ant-Man movie.
Yes.
The heist comedy that it is.
Yeah, right? That's the thing, is he grounds the movie so much in the real emotion. The performance with Evangeline Lilly as Wasp, that dynamic is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Of course, later we see him with Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet, which is good as well.
Quantumania.
But that first Ant-Man movie, he's playing the mentor.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a unique type of mentor role.
Yeah.
He's looking for a protege.
Yeah.
But he's not really looking for a protege. He's looking for someone to help him steal something.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and he doesn't want it to be Hope to do it.
Correct.
He wants it to be
even though
someone
she's very qualified.
He wants it to be someone he doesn't care about.
Someone he doesn't care about.
Because he knows that there's danger.
And it's going to be Scott.
Yeah.
And it's Scott Lang, because Scott Lang is a career criminal. And he's
trying to go clean. He's trying to reestablish himself.
Yeah. And what's interesting about what Hank Pym is doing is he's using his daughter against him. He's saying, you need to be the guy that your daughter really should look up to.
Yeah.
He's very manipulative.
Very manipulative, yeah.
But it's also like a typical mentor figure would say something like that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's an interesting
He's also,
dichotomy.
if you think about it, he's kind of projecting onto Scott.
100%.
About 100%. I should be doing that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Big time. It's very layered.
Yeah.
That movie's great. It's very
I
underrated.
agree. Ant-Man's terrific.
Michael Douglas in it, I think, gives the best performance.
Mhm.
He has a couple of like really intense emotional moments as well. He's funny in it. He's definitely more of the straight man to all of the silliness going on around him, and he does that very well. He brings, like a lot of the older actors, Robert Redford. Now we have Harrison Ford coming in.
Yeah.
They bring a lot of gravity and weight to the proceedings in the MCU.
Yeah.
And I think he definitely does that in that movie. So
Terrific. That's a great
he
pick.
had to be in there. Hank
Love it.
Pym, one of my favorite comic book characters. Again, if you know him from the comics, he's a pretty bad dude. He ends up being a hero, but he does very, very bad things. So getting an actor like that can, even though they don't go into that,
Sure.
they
Not to a point where he's, punching Janet in the face.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But it's kind of under the surface. You can kind of see
Sure.
how he could be that guy.
Yeah.
So
And I think that the way that they managed to work that into this version of the character is this is a version of Hank Pym without Janet. So
Yes,
that kind of
yes.
aggression and anger is there because Janet's not there.
yes, exactly.
So
And you see in that opening scene
Yeah.
when he punches a guy in the nose that it's totally there.
for sure.
But now that he's older, he's a little wiser. It's a little more subdued.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's a great pick. That's
performance.
terrific. That's a great casting. These are all great picks.
That's
I
our
think.
top 10.
You took a lot of mine.
I know.
I feel like I took a bit of yours.
Yeah.
We had some outside the box picks
We
that
did.
neither of us were expecting.
Absolutely.
Your Hellboy pick, I think, is still terrific. I can't believe I didn't think of that one.
Yeah.
So good.
Let's go through our list real quick again. I'm just going to run these down. Carson's number 1, Kevin Conroy as Batman in Mask of the Phantasm.
That's right.
My number 1, Christopher Reeve as Superman in Superman the movie. Carson's number 2, Bruce Willis as David Dunn in Unbreakable. My number 2, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in Iron Man.
That's right.
Carson's number 3, Robert Pattinson as Batman in The Batman.
Yep.
My number 3, Ron Perlman as Hellboy in Hellboy. Carson's number 4, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn in The Suicide Squad. My number 4, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman in Wonder Woman. Carson's number 5, Craig T. Nelson as Mr. Incredible in The
That's right.
Incredibles. Really good pick. My number 5, Edward Norton as Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk. Carson's number 6, Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker in The Amazing Spider-Man.
That's right.
That one might be a little controversial. Although he's got a lot of fans out there now.
Yeah.
People have kind of come around on those movies a little bit. My number 6, Ben Affleck as Batman in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition.
You want to talk about controversial picks?
Watch the Ultimate Edition, by the way. Again, go to our Director's Cuts podcast to watch that. Carson's number 7, Nolan North.
It's Raphael.
In
TMNT.
TMNT. If you haven't seen that, a lot of people still haven't seen this, unfortunately.
It's the best. It's the best Ninja Turtles movie ever.
100%.
If you've never seen Ninja Turtles, watch it. If you're a lifelong fan, you'll love
Definitely
it.
watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's streaming, but fine. It's just called TMNT. That's
right.
the title.
It's animated.
My number 7, James McAvoy as Charles Xavier in X-Men First Class. He's also a Scottish actor, so he's having to put on the British accent.
Yeah.
Which is great. He nails it. And he's a huge fan of Patrick Stewart, too.
Of course.
Which is cool that he got to play that. Wesley Snipes is your number 8 as Blade in Blade 2.
That's right.
My number 8, Michael Chiklis as The Thing in Fantastic Four. Carson's number 9, Zachary Levi as Billy Batson / Shazam.
That's right.
In Shazam. My number 9, Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther in Black Panther. Carson's outside the box pick. Number 10, David Corenswet.
Yes.
As Superman.
That's right.
In James Gunn's upcoming Superman film to be released July 2025.
That's right.
Be on the lookout for it. We'll see if Carson was right or
let
wrong.
Me know let me know how wrong I was about this number 10 pick. I'm curious.
My number 10, Michael Douglas as Hank Pym
Yes.
in Ant-Man. Great list.
Very good. Yeah.
I like this list.
Star-studded cast of actors.
All great actors.
Yeah, amazing. Now, there's a lot I wish we could have included.
So many more. Daphne Keane was on my
If we
list.
had-
She didn't make it as X-23. She's so good.
She's terrific.
I love.
And even beyond the movies, and there's so many shows.
So
I
many.
mean, Charlie Cox's Daredevil is one that comes to mind as like terrific, all-timer.
Tim Daly's Superman and Superman the Animated Series for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
it's
sure.
fantastic.
Yeah, so many-
Susan Eisenberg is Wonder Woman.
Of course. So many animated voice
Great
actors
stuff.
who I would have had on here as well. But
Totally. Maybe we'll do that in the future.
yeah,
Let us know what your picks are. We want to have a conversation with you about the best superhero casting. Casting is such a big part of movies
it is.
that doesn't get talked about enough.
Sure.
Honestly, it needs to be an Oscar category. Best casting.
Yeah.
It really
And
does.
it's awarded to the casting director.
Absolutely, the casting director. I'll mention one who, goes unsung. She's cast, I think, every MCU movie. Sarah Finn Haley.
Wow.
Fantastic
Absolutely.
casting director.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Anyone
this
who
is-
casts Chris Pratt out of Parks and Rec as
he was on my list too.
that's impressive.
He was almost.
I
He
know.
was like my number 12.
Him and Rocket to me were neck and neck.
Ah, so good, so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, let us know your list. Give us your top 10 best superhero castings of all time.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have a conversation with you about that. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Those links are in the description below. Carson and I are both on Letterboxd
right.
as well. So if you want to follow us, we're always logging movies and rating and reviewing movies on that app, which is a lot of fun. This list will also be on that app. You can check that out in the description of this video. Carson, as always, great to have you.
Yes, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
We just did our first ever real world commentaries.
That's right.
Hulk vs. Wolverine, the animated short,
30 minutes.
and the 2.5-hour epic, Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yes, we had a lot to say about that one.
Both are now on the
We have
channel.
very different opinions about that movie, so it was, I think, a pretty entertaining commentary.
It
Be
was.
sure to give it a listen.
Definitely. Yeah. It was
Thank
a
you
lot
for
of fun.
watching, everybody.
Thank you all for being here. Keep watching the channel. Keep sharing it online. We're almost at 600. We want to get to 1,000 if we can, as quick as we can. So we really appreciate your support. Make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos, and we'll see you next time right here on The Real World.